today we currently live in what some individuals correctly refer to as the age of information. In the 1900s, you had the Gilded Age, where you had J.P. Morgan and Jay Gould, people like that were commerce-minded. Today, we now have not only easier access to information, but it is also more readily available. We have the opposite problem than most civilizations had. Before the Gutenberg press, it was nearly impossible for the average farmer, laborer, peasant, people we now refer to today as the common man, to gain access to information. The information was hoarded. It was kept under wraps by religious leaders, kings, members of astute families, so on and so forth. After the Gutenberg press was invented, information was more readily available. Books, pamphlets, so on and so forth. That was kind of the first time that the common man was able to gain access to information. And then you had the distribution of newspapers. As information has increased, now people typically access information on their mobile devices. Social media, YouTube, news sites, all in the palm of their hand. You now possess a device that can fit in the palm of your hand that has more information than 1,000 Britannica encyclopedias. We have the opposite problem. People are too information-minded these days. It changes the wiring of your brain. Even an individual like me who tries to, I want to keep up to date on the bigger pictures, if we're going to have war with Iran or if the economy is going to crash, and the polls once in a while, but as far as every little day-to-day, Trump did this, he did that, he said that, I don't give a damn. It has no impact on my life, and I don't give a shit. I don't care about the day-to-day workings of the government. They don't work for us. They don't give a shit about us. They don't care about the people. And when you know that they no longer are doing what's in the people's interest, you can access the information, you can get angry, upset, and I understand. When you really understand that our economic system, our political system, our society as a whole is sort of being maneuvered by the 1% who creates these institutions educationally, the media, so on and so forth, to protect those interests, you get angry. And rightfully so. I would say that is a natural human reaction. Being reactive is a natural way to be. But instead of being reactive, you've got to be proactive. And what I mean by that is, instead of focusing and getting angry at what you see taking place, you should try to make your own life better. Improve yourself spiritually, emotionally, financially, so on and so forth. That being said, I cannot even get away from all the information, as hard as I try. Anytime I go on social media, when I want to post something about a business, I like to sell things on social media, I am exposed to what is going on in the news. As far as I understand, there was an investigation of the president about Russian collusion. Regardless of your opinion of that, it was concluded by the special counsel that there was not sufficient evidence to charge the president. And considering the American justice system is innocent until proven guilty, that was sort of the way that it took place. After that, though, apparently what I've been hearing, and again, I don't keep up with all this bullshit because it's unimportant, is that the guy, Mueller, who was doing the investigation, came back again to testify about the investigation he just did. Now, the question is not whether Trump colluded with Russia. The question isn't what was specifically said, because I don't give a shit. My issue is, when the fuck are we going to get a new healthcare package? What the fuck are we doing about education? When the hell are we going to rebuild some of our crumbling infrastructure? What I don't understand is we pay taxes to these sons of bitches. Every pencil they push, all the air conditioning, all the seats, the entire building electrical grid itself is funded by us. These public servants, quote unquote, that have private tennis courts, private gyms, that have private jets, because they serve us, you know. It's not like they work for the donor, special interest, and lobbyist. And understanding that, I think that our system is great comparatively. When you're comparing something, you got to ask yourself, compared to what? Some people have this dreamland of living in this utopian fantasy world. I don't. I say America is the greatest country compared to the rest of the world. But just because something is the greatest does not mean necessarily that it does not have its problems. I think one of the things we should do is we should add something to the government. This is just an idea. Intelligent people discuss ideas. If they're wrong, they move on, but that's how intelligent people talk. They don't talk about dumb shit like other people's lives. That's for morons who don't have anything else to talk about on their mind. I thought about this the other day, then when I woke up. Sometimes when I wake up, I have these brain farts, these epiphanies, and a lot of them make sense, believe it or not. One of the ideas that I had was, though, since our government refuses to do anything about infrastructure, our infrastructure is rated in D and F in some cases. New York City, if there's ever a fire, that son of a bitch is going to burn. And I don't say that with pleasure. I don't want fellow American citizens to be exposed to that. The point I'm making is, why the fuck aren't we rebuilding some infrastructure? Working out a comprehensive infrastructure package? Why aren't we working on education? Letting students have vouchers where they can go to whatever school they choose, even if it's not in their district. In the bad schools, like in the free market system, will go to hell. They'll be gone. It's competition. That's how you get better. You compete against others. That's how you improve. That's how you get better. We cannot have a society where the young people are not educated. The young people are the ones who are going to end up voting. They're going to end up representing our country if it's still here. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to collapse. But hypothetically speaking, so on and so forth. So we got to make sure they have access to the best education. And they're healthy while doing it. Why aren't we doing that? I'm trying to remember the guy's name. That's why let me look him up real quick and I'll get back to you. Okay, I just paused this because I was going back to see who runs these committees. So apparently this fat fucker, Jerry Nadler, this fat useless sack of shit, he refuses to do anything for the people. He has 6 committees, I looked this up, 6 congressional committees that are supposed to help the people, but they're all investigating a crime that Trump might have done. Okay, here is my idea. What we need is, every 2 years, we need to elect an individual. That individual will present 3 topics at the beginning of the week. I would say this week I would present healthcare, infrastructure, and probably a bill that would allow children in inner cities to start off. We can do that, but there are most hurt people right now by the system. A way for children in inner cities to have access to vouchers where they can get a better education. The public will vote, give them access on the White House website, let them enter in some of their information. Let's say, because you don't want non-American citizens to be doing this, they represent us. Maybe you enter in your driver's license number, which the government already knows, according to the Department of Transportation. They already have that in there when you get your driver's license, because you have to be voting age. And when you do that, you can pick what you think the government should work on this week. Just vote on. Doesn't mean they're going to pass anything. It just means Jerry Nadler has to get off his fat piece of shit, useless ass, and actually vote on this instead of investigating the president. And then it goes to the Senate. Then the Senate votes and it goes to the president's desk. This week, when you work at a real job, you have to get something done. When you're in the government, you can be a useless fat piece of shit like Nadler and not do anything. But when you work for a private corporation, you have different goals. This week, we're going to have inventory. I remember doing inventory. This week we're going to clean out the back room. This week we're going to do this and that. That week you put all of your resources, all of your time into doing that. That's what we need to do in our government. Have an individual, we elect them every 2 years. This idea could get better, it could improve. There could be alternatives. I'm all about finding the best solution to the problem. But unless you try to find alternatives, you're never going to find the solution, and you're going to be stuck with what you currently have, which is a bunch of useless congressmen who care more about taking down the president that the American people elected, whether you like him or not. I agree with them sometimes, I don't all the time, instead of actually helping the American people in their individual lives. I would say that would be a way to start, is by introducing they have to do this, but the way it currently works is a lobbyist writes bills. Those bills had to be brought to the floor by a congressman, and they're already written by special interest groups. And then the Congress has to debate, blah, blah, blah. It goes to the Senate, and it's a really slow process, which the founders intended. I get that, but why not start working on it at least? Work on some infrastructure, work on something for the people. And part of the reason of this, and this is another issue, is that the people that are supposed to representing your communities, your districts, do not live in those districts. They don't know what a gallon of milk costs. They don't know what a gallon of gas is. They don't know what a dozen eggs cost right now. And they're supposed to be representing me. Give me a fucking break. How are you supposed to represent me when you don't know what the common man's going through, when you don't know how it is to live in the communities? I personally think we need to have stronger state governments because they have more input over your lives. I think the state should be able to decide a lot of things. That's another issue for another day. My main thing as a solution-oriented individual is I want a solution. I don't want to keep bitching. I want a solution to the problem. My solution would be you have an individual that's elected every 2 years. Let me lay this out so I can make my position clear. You elect this individual every 2 years, because if they don't present things you like, if they're a lazy ass or they get bought off, you can vote them out, right? And that's part of our uniqueness in our governmental structure. We can vote in representatives in and out, the president, so on and so forth, when they don't do the job. When we feel like the direction they're taking our country is not the direction that the majority want in the geographic area, we can vote for a new leader. That being said, here's how it will go. You elect this individual every 2 years. They present anywhere from 3 to 5 things. You show them your driver's license number or your voter ID, some sort of identification. You go on the website. Every person has one vote. You vote for what you think should be done. Healthcare, infrastructure, education, stuff like that. They present a bill to the Congress. They work on that the week. And if you can understand that a useless piece of shit like Fat Fuck Nadler is not working on these things, they're going to give them a grade in the database. Google collects data on everything you do, and they give that data to advertisers, and those advertisers then understand your habits as a consumer, and they can predict using algorithms what you're going to buy. Well, we can do the same thing. Get a sort of database on how these people are voting. I mean, you already have access to their voting records. You can check out their voting records, and they're given different grades by different organizations like the NRA, the ACLU. You can look at these particular voting records and then make your own judgment based upon what you think. But they should do that, give you access to that, where you can see if they're actually working on infrastructure. So instead of representing one interest group like the NRA, the ACLU, what is their grade on voting for infrastructure? What is their grade on education vouchers? That would sort of be the way I would go about this. Now, there are things we could do better, things that we could do that are different. But until we try anything, we're going to keep going down this road where the representatives aren't doing a goddamn thing for me or you. They're just taking our tax money, using all that money to investigate the president, investigate each other, and they're not doing anything to help our local communities, which they are supposed to be doing.